everybody, it's me again, and I'm gonna talk about another zombie flick because I did Day of the Dead recently, I did Dawn of the Dead, and now I'm gonna talk about Night of the Living Dead. I know it's not in the good order, but this one is the zombie movie that made the zombies we know and cherish and love through The Walking Dead, through other zombie movies, the flesh-eating zombies. Never call them zombies though, because in this movie they're not called zombies, they're called things or ghouls. And in older movies, zombies were also called ghouls, usually reanimated by voodoo. You know, Lucio Fucci's Zombie 2, the idea behind that, the ripoff of Dawn of the Dead, was that voodoo would be the reason that zombies were reanimated. You know, people who died reanimated and ate the flesh of the living. But there is another story in Night of the Living Dead that was scripted but never shot, but I do believe in a radio broadcast they say something about that. Now, first of all, this is a movie from 1969. George Romero directed it. The special effects weren't Tom Savini. He was asked, but he couldn't because he had to go to Vietnam and take pictures during war. So that's how we saw all those mutilated bodies and how we knew how to make those special effects look real, right? Now, the guy who stepped in for him is a guy called, I'm gonna maybe butcher his name, Tony Pentanella. Never heard of him, never knew. And another guy even, but I just took this guy, and the two guys I never heard of, but they did a good job. Because, you know, you've got a black and white version, but nowadays you also got the color version. Now the black and white version is more grimy looking, darker and creepy looking, but the color version shows more that it actually, of the zombies, the way they were, the makeup effects, like in Dawn of the Dead, was really cheap. Tom Savini always regretted that, and he redeemed himself in Day of the Dead. The zombies looked way creepier, and the movie was way creepier. These zombies were creepy. He had a waitress with an arm off. Her arm was ripped off. You've seen that it was ripped off because tethers of flesh were still hanging on there. Zombies mutilated faces, and I mean torn off skin, things like that. And even when you see the zombies eating at some point, because the young couple, so this is going to be a spoiler review, so keep that in mind. Tom and Judy, that's a couple that they find in the basement, hiding in the basement. They at some point want to go to they find a pickup truck with a little bit of gasoline in it, but there's this pump, a gas pump. They want with a lock. They found the key. They want to drive to it, and eventually it explodes, right? And the zombies eat from their charred bodies, but the intestines are still fresh. So you see them ripping through the intestines. It's pretty gross, and that's what you see in the black and white too, but it's more visualized in the color version. So it's a different kind of experience. So we've got, of course, Barbara and her brother Johnny at the cemetery with that creepy line he always says to badgering her, like, you know, they're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming to get you. Look, there's one now. And you see that an old looking dude in a costume, you know, don't look like a zombie, but then he attacks Barbara, and Johnny wants to intervene. He, of course, gets his head knocked on a tombstone, breaking his neck, I'm guessing, because people who die get reanimated, even if you're not bitten. This is also in a script, an original script choice, but they cut it out, and I'm gonna tell it about later on. So she goes to the farmhouse. The zombie can use a stone. He's smarter than other zombies, but they go. She runs to the farmhouse, and then another car, and she finds that body upstairs. Then she sees a car coming in, a pickup truck with lights. Then you see Ben, the savior of the movie. Now Barbara, at this point, Ben kills a zombie. I think there's a zombie inside. He kills one. He kills one outside. He has this like a mechanical kind of like a wrench or something, or a crowbar. I'm not sure, but he explains what happened. That a truck. He was sitting in a diner, and there's a garage next to the diner, and there was a gas pump, and a truck drove through when he saw all these things, he said, and they didn't move, and the truck ran them over, and the truck blasted into the gas station, and everything blows up. That scene you see when in Dawn of the Dead remake, when I think, what was her name, Polly, the nurse, when she's driving away, and you see it from an above point of view, and you see a truck hitting a gas station. That was also the beginning of the outbreak in that movie, so they used that. They also used a scene in that one where in the Dawn of the Day remake, where Tom Savini is a sheriff, and he's saying the way you gotta kill them is burn them or shoot them through the head. And Night of the Living Dead, and also a sheriff, says you gotta shoot them through the head. That's the only way you gotta kill them. Kill the brain, you kill them. So that was picked from Night of the Living Dead. Now Barbara was actually scripted as a badass. She and Ben were the two badasses, and she was scripted to survive the movie, but they stayed with this more in shock kind of Barbara, and in the end she redeems herself, but to keep the zombies outside. But when she sees Johnny, zombie Johnny, she's completely in shock, and they rip her out of the house through the door, and she gets eaten. Now, Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead, the remake from 1990, he did that script. He removed the in shock, useless Barbara and made her a tough lady. And I think Tony Todd, the Candyman, plays Ben. He's also a tough dude, but he gets bitten in that one and becomes a zombie. Now, of course, we know they're like the Cooper family in the basement. Harry Cooper, the douchebag of the movie, his wife Helen Cooper, and then of course the girl Karen Cooper, the bitten girl. But they don't know, because she's bitten by one of those things, that she's gonna become one of those things. They don't know that. She's sick, she has the flu, she's, she doesn't want to eat, she's sick. And Ben finds a gun. There's also Tom and Judy, a younger couple, and everybody doesn't want to go to the cellar there, because Harry wants to go to the cellar. You're safe there, but Ben says no, don't go to the cellar, because if they break in, there's no way to get out. But the ironic part, of course, at the end is that Ben goes to the cellar because the zombies break in the house and locks him in there, and he survives. Of course, with a really anticlimactic end. Now, Harry Cooper is constantly in Ben's throat. Helen Cooper is a beaten down wife. She doesn't dare speak up against her husband. And Tom and Judy are the couple. Tom is a really brave boy. He wants to go to the pump outside, but Judy follows him. But for some reason, I don't remember why, it explodes. And then, of course, we see the zombie eating from their bodies. The entrails, of course, they weren't burnt yet. And that we see more clearer in the color version. Now, at some point, Harry wants to take Ben's gun, and he fights for it, and eventually Ben is tired and shoots him in the gut. Now there's a scripted scene that they wanted to go with, and that was that he would become the zombie and he would kill Karen. And when Ben goes to the basement, he sees Harry Cooper eating Karen Cooper, the daughter. He's eating from the daughter. So, and they said that would be a little bit too hard, distasteful, you know, killing a kid that way. That would be too cruel. So they changed it up, that he was shot, but he crawls into the basement. We know that the mom at this point went to the basement to her daughter. She's a zombie, but she doesn't bite her first. She kills, because these zombies use tools to kill people too. She uses this small spatula, this, you know, and she stabs her with it. A spatula or a pointy thing, like a knife, and she stabs her multiple times. And then when Harry goes in, he sees, he wants to hug her, and he bites her, of course. And then we see Ben going into the basement and see the daughter eating from Harry Cooper, the father. So that was actually changed, that he would be the one eating from his daughter, killing his wife. He's becoming the zombie because he dies from a bullet wound. But that would have been too distasteful. Also, Karen Cooper was bitten, so she would become a zombie too. But if he became a zombie first, then he would eat from Karen too, his daughter. So, and of course, we all know the end. Like I said, it's a spoiler movie. It's an old movie. You should have seen it because it's a great movie. But because I'm such a spoiler kind of douchebag, I'm putting the movie in the description, the colored version. It's on YouTube. Just copy and paste the text, put it in the search engine of YouTube, and you can find the fully and complete color version of Night of the Living Dead from 1969. But the thing, of course, is the anticlimactic end is that Ben comes out, looks through a creek, a group of hillbillies with a sheriff, sees that, shoots him in the head. Bam, dead. Movie ends. Now the thing is, why didn't he? Because Barbara was supposed to survive. Okay, she would have yelled, "Help! Help! Don't shoot!" Right? Because that fate should have been the same if she didn't say anything. But a lot of people thought it was the racial undertone because, you know, black people were inferior, white people certainly at that time, but it wasn't. Romero didn't want to put that message in there. So Ben was just unlucky and a little bit stupid by not yelling, "Stop, I'm alive, I'm not one of those things, help me," this and that, and they wouldn't shoot him, right? Well, okay, very anticlimactic end, but again, it is what it is. You can see the remake, and that's a completely different story, where we get the scripted version that, of course, Ben becomes a zombie and Barbara becomes a badass running outside because the zombies are mega slow, and she comes back with cops and things like that and people with guns, and she eventually, I think she sees Ben coming out of the basement as a zombie. She's sad, of course, cries and shoot him through the head and that. But eventually, I put the color version in the description. Check it out if you never seen it before, if you never found it before. It's on YouTube. It's free. So it's a movie. I'm giving it 7 out of 10, and it's the beginning of the and also the movie cost $114,000 and it grossed $30 million. Now Romero never saw any of that money because he had these distribution deals, and the distributors, the distributors got all the money. He never should have made that deal. And the thing is, he was born in the Bronx and he died eventually in Canada, Toronto, but he lived at that time in Pittsburgh, and he made all of his movies in Pittsburgh. Pittsburghians were really happy with him. He boosted the economy, he did good things for Pittsburgh, and all the zombies were Pittsburghians, 200 zombies apparently. But all of in Dawn of the Dead, Pittsburgh too, I think that was Pittsburgh too. He used so many people that just wanted to help him for free. That was a cool idea. And what I said about the other possibility about the zombie outbreak was that you don't see it. It wasn't a script, but they didn't have the budget, I guess, and time restraint. But they say it. I do believe they say it through the radio, but it's on background, so you're focused on what the people are doing. The radio is on constantly. You hear people saying, "Get out to safe zones, get to the army safe zones." But then you hear a scientist talking about a satellite that crashed on Earth and had a visual goo on it, and that the virus that was a virus on that satellite, a space virus, let's say, and that created the reanimation of the dead. That would be a more realistic, not supernatural but realistic approach. But they said a satellite crashed, and who knows? But they never went in depth with that. I know there's a little bit talk about that, but in any case, there's also 9 minutes of deleted scenes that he found in 2015, but he and Martin Scorsese wanted to recreate that scene. They couldn't. It was so damaged, but he knew that one scene was a giant army of 200 zombies going across the road, which would be really cool, panning out the camera, looking over the zombies, that you can see that was an army of zombies. There were a lot of zombies. There were a lot of, 9 minutes. That's a long, long piece of deleted scene. These were scenes that never seen the light of day, and he wanted to remake them, but with Martin Scorsese, nonetheless, but it didn't work. But in any case, if you've never seen the movie, see it. Got it in the description, and I hope you enjoyed this review. See you next time. Bye.